Since the beginning of time, women had to work twice as hard as men to prove themselves in any industry. In jobs requiring brute force, women were considered too weak. In jobs requiring judgment, they were considered too emotional. In ancient Greece, women were not allowed to act, and men wearing masks played female characters. In the early days of the theatre in Europe, it is said that children with soft voices played these feminine roles. Throughout the years, women have been breaking these stereotypes and changing old norms to establish their place in various industries. And they have managed to do this wonderfully and successfully. When it comes to using one's voice, for women, this is considered more than just a form of communication. It's liberation. To raise their voice for a cause is empowerment, and just as empowering as raising your voice is lending your voice. Hello everyone, you're listening to the Socially Desi Show, the podcast that motivates you to live, create, and inspire. If this is your first time here, welcome. On our show, we discuss tips and strategies with our guest speakers on how to tackle problems related to personal growth, mental health, relationships, business and entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. So hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com for more of such content. Today, I'm joined by Carolina Ravassa. She's an actor, producer, and popularly known for her voice for Sombra in Overwatch and Raze in Valorant. Hello, Carolina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Being a Valorant player myself, Carolina, it gives me an immense pleasure to have you on the show today. So tell us more about you and your journey so far.
Oh my gosh, that's a very loaded question because there are so many possible responses. I have been acting since I was 5, not professionally, just because I loved it as a kid. And I continued doing theater in my middle school and high school. And so I knew that when it came time to apply to colleges, I wanted to study acting because it was the one thing that I truly loved and thought I was good at. So I applied to colleges in the US and I did acting in Boston. Then I moved to New York to continue pursuing it and lived there for 10 years, auditioning for film, TV, theater, voiceover, all sorts of things, whatever could get the bills paid. And then I moved to LA and I've been here for 3 years. So that's kind of a nutshell of my life. I was born and raised in Colombia. And so I guess now I'm in LA and I am still pursuing film and TV, but my voiceover career has taken off in a way that I never expected. So I've been doing a lot of animation and video games since I moved to LA, and they make me really happy.
So the Step Up movie was the part of your initial career steps, or that was something in the middle?
That was at the very beginning, for sure. I was working in New York. I mean, I was a waitress in New York City for 6 years trying to pay my bills as I pursued my career. And at some point there, I was in Step Up 3D, which was a great experience and a really lovely way to get into the union for actors and, to be on a big movie set and everything. But even after Step Up, I was still waiting tables and struggling and trying to make a career happen. So it was a great little role that I got and a wonderful experience. And on top of that, I had to continue auditioning and just working my butt off to try and get acting work,
And you are also a dance enthusiast, right? So during that time, were you even learning dancing, or was it something you started later on?
I love dancing since I was really young. I think that in Colombia we grew up dancing salsa and merengue and vallenato and cumbia. So I always, as kids, we just when we go out to parties we dance. So I never formally trained to be a dancer. I just love salsa dancing. So I mean, the fact that I was in a Step Up movie and didn't dance is funny, but I'm also not a professional dancer. So I just really enjoy it and do it for fun, but I've never really pursued anything involving dance professionally.
Yeah, I mean, we would have loved to see you dance, on the movie.
Oh my gosh.
But what were the initial challenges when you entered the industry, when you moved to US and you started working in the industry, got some roles? What were the initial challenges for you?
I mean, I think it's just, I think people think that acting and Hollywood and Broadway are very glamorous careers, and they're actually not. You have to train as an actor, and it's very competitive. We go on many auditions a week, and most of the time we don't get the roles that we audition for. So it's a lot of rejection. And you just have to keep working to get the role that makes sense for you. And so it's a lot of like mind games where you have to be telling yourself you are good enough, and that just because they didn't book you in that role that you were so right for doesn't mean that you're a bad actor or that you did something wrong. We have to keep reminding ourselves that this is our passion and it's what we're good at and what we like. And on top of that, just the very basic thing of paying bills. So obviously, the 1% of Hollywood actors that are super famous make millions of dollars, but the rest of us are just trying to pay rent every month. So I think that the struggle initially is I have to audition and try and get roles, but at the same time, I have to pay my rent. So that's why the cliche of actors being waiters is so real, because you can wait tables at night and on weekends and audition during the day because it gives you the time and the freedom to do that. So, I did a lot of odd jobs to pay bills, and sometimes they're soul crushing and they suck, but we keep doing it because that's what we love, acting. So there's a lot of, you hit a lot of walls, and you just have to, fall, get back up and keep going because we believe in that dream. I think that it can be soul crushing, and you just have to have a hard skin to keep going,
Yeah, I mean, in India especially, there's a saying that goes that you need to be a certain kind of a crazy to think of being an actor, because it's something that you need to really hustle and grind throughout your life. It's not something just, you do in your initial days and then you get comfy.
Yeah.
So it's something that, you keep on growing, you keep on developing your skills throughout your life. So that's something
Absolutely.
that, even the established actors, they keep on learning and doing something or the other.
And they have to keep on proving themselves. I mean, after I booked Sombra and Overwatch was a big hit, it didn't mean that all of a sudden I was getting a bunch of roles. I still audition for them and I still get rejected from, 95% of them. So we just keep playing the same game on a different level, basically.
Yeah. And speaking about games, there's a very sweet, what do I call it, a web series or a YouTube series that you do. So tell us about that. I mean, what is Hispanglo-Saxon, and was it something that you came up with, or is it something that means something?
Yeah. I call it a web series. I decided along the way of my acting journey, I was really struggling with trying to fit into the right roles that New York City wanted me to fit into. So either I would audition for a Latina or I would audition for a white girl, but I never was enough of either. So I kept getting told, you're too white to be Latina, or you're too ethnic looking to play white. And so I wasn't, maybe my acting was also terrible, but at the same time, I kept being told I couldn't play my own people. I'm Colombian. I didn't look Colombian enough. So after feeling very sad and disgruntled and annoyed and angry and frustrated, I decided to just do a little web series that wouldn't take a lot of money because I didn't have any. I was still waiting tables. I started shooting tiny vignettes where I play myself with another character, and the opposite character is still me in a wig. And I edited them together. I did it all with my iPhone on my iMac. Like, I didn't really spend money on it. It was just asking for favors and help from friends. And I also just did it all on my own because I wanted to create something, because artists need to create. You need to be a little crazy to do this. And so basically it's my experiences in acting in New York City. So they're all based on true experiences. The second season, I talk about other friends' experiences that are similar, but I keep telling their stories in the same format. And then the characters were just created. So now I use those characters for fun stuff off and on. Yeah. During pandemic, I made up some silly thing that my character was depressed. And so they all had to hustle to make money to pay for rent. So it's just kind of my inside crazy developing characters and having fun with accents, because I love accents. And so it's my baby that I made up and that I've enjoyed doing when I don't have jobs that pay bills. I kind of do Hispanglo-Saxon.
No, I really love it, because recently I watched that episode where you played an Indian actress who wanted to learn Spanish, and then you were trying to teach her Spanish and she didn't know anything about Spanish. So that was like crazy. I was like, that's spot on,
Well, so, it's funny because I've been very careful portraying other ethnicities that obviously aren't mine. And I wanted to make sure that this Indian character is a really great person. And it's actually my friend booked a role on a TV show where she had to teach an Iranian girl how to speak Spanish, very different situation. I just tweaked a few things.
Yeah.
And so this Iranian girl looked Latina, so she booked this job. And my friend, who's the actual Spanish speaker, booked a smaller role, and they asked her to teach this girl how to speak Spanish. And the girl's like, I don't know how to speak Spanish. So she's teaching her how to speak Spanish. And it's just this kind of like crazy thing that happens in Hollywood where, you know, you could play a Latino because they think you look like one, but then you don't speak Spanish. And then I don't look like a Latina, but I am, and they don't book me. So it's kind of a comedy of errors. And in the end, that actress isn't a bad person. She booked a job and she wanted to excel at it. So she asked for some help. And I think we all fall into that. You know, I play Raze, who's a Brazilian, and I'm not Brazilian. And I know a lot of the Brazilian community doesn't love that. But I think that Raze's personality is something that I had. So that's why they cast me, you know. We all suffer from both sides. I don't get to play a Colombian and it really bugs me. And then if a Brazilian plays a Colombian, it breaks my heart. But then I also wanted to play Raze, who's a Brazilian, and I'm not. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Because see, at the end of the day, it's showbiz, right?
It is. Yeah.
I mean that's the dynamics of the industry, and that's what you love and hate about it. So
yeah, it is. Absolutely. And I understand how Brazilians can be bothered that a Brazilian isn't playing Raze, but I also know after speaking to the writer and the director that they listened to hundreds of auditions, and something in me spoke to them as Raze. And so they said, you know, the personality is more important than the authenticity. And that's where sometimes they have to make decisions that are different. So I respect that too, you know?
So true.
Yeah.
So true. And you know, in the start of the episode, you spoke about, you know, how your voiceover career has actually, you know, taken off more than, you know, your acting career during these days. So was it something that you planned, voiceover, or was it just, you know, happened as it, you know, just went for you?
You know, it's funny. As a kid, I used to love practicing voiceover. When I'd see a commercial, I would practice the voice of like the Pantene lady or whatever brand, you know. And so it's funny that I did think about that as a kid. But then when I moved to New York, I just remember that I moved at a time where they needed Spanish speakers for a lot of radio commercials. So I started auditioning for a bunch of commercials, selling brands. I didn't enjoy it, but it helps pay the bills. So you do it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I did commercials for Gillette, for McDonald's, for Burger King, for all sorts of things. That was just my voice. And so that kind of got me into a little niche of Spanish. And then I started booking some video game stuff, but Sombra was the biggest thing in Overwatch. And then I started meeting a bunch of voice people, and they said, if you really want to do this, like in animations, you need to move to LA because New York doesn't audition a lot for animation. And that's one thing I've always wanted, more than video games, is working in animation because I think it's so much fun. So I didn't quite plan it, but it was, sometimes you just have to go where the love is. Yeah. And the love was, doors were opening in voiceover world. So when I moved to LA, I started booking a bunch of animations and more video games because they're all out here. So it just kind of happened. And I still love both. It's just voiceover is a great thing where I don't need to look a certain way to play that character. And that's really freeing.
Solving a lot of problems that, you know, your character in YouTube faces.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Like my web series was like, this is this crazy problem. And now I play in video games, Cuban, Mexican, Brazilian, Colombian. It's awesome. You know, I can play an old lady. I can play a little kid. The sky's the limit. So true. So true. And tell me something, how different is voiceovers in games versus, you know, animated series or any other movie? Well, video games are really intense. You know, usually there's combat. And so you're like, run, take cover. I need help over here. Obliterated. You know, that kind of like intense screaming and like, it's very like kind of badass characters ready to go to the kill, you know? Whereas animation, there's a story that's a little bit more less intense and usually really lighthearted and comedic. So it's just like little voices or the mom that comes in to scold the kid, or, you know, animation's usually fun. It's not dramatic. So it's very different levels, but they're both really fun. So I enjoy them. I enjoyed them a lot.
Yeah, I really agree with what you're saying when it comes to games. Like especially when I talk about Valorant, like your character Raze, and if I take the character of Jet, like when you hear Jet, she's more like she'll insult you in ways, and she'll poke you with her lines and all
Yeah.
that. Raze is more about fun, and when she talks to Brimstone, she's like do you even listen to music? You're bringing me down.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
all those things. So you have your moments as players. That's something that I guess that creates a very unique environment for your own particular character that you play.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Raze is probably the loudest and the kind of most lighthearted. But even when I heard a lot of Cypher's voice lines, I think he's very funny. He's got a dark comedy to him that I really enjoy. Yeah, so it just depends. But I do think I'm the most bombastic, and I also love explosives.
So true, so true. I completely agree with that. And
Yeah.
tell us about Sombra, because our Indian gaming community would love to know about her as well. And there's a infamous boop also. So I mean, we would love to know that.
There's the boop. Yeah. Sombra is she's a Mexican hacker, and she's got a dark humor. She's sarcastic. She's got dry wit, which I really enjoy. And she's really smart and really good at what she does. So I feel very proud to play her. And thanks to Sombra, I've gotten to travel the world to meet Overwatch players. Like I've been to Kuwait and the Philippines and Argentina and Australia because of Overwatch. So I'm incredibly grateful to the game and to her. She's just so cool. The cool thing about Blizzard is that they do these short films as they launch characters that tell backstories. And so if you don't play the video game, you can watch the shorts, kind of like their little animated series. I think that Valorant does this as well. And you kind of get an idea of who they are, and you can just watch them be instead of have to play them. I'm not a gamer, so I actually enjoy the short films. And in the short, she boops her enemy, letting her know, I'm watching you. So it's kind of an FU, but it became this thing that the fans just loved. So I always boop the fans, and now it's an in-game line so that they spam it all the time. But yeah, that's basically where the boop came from.
Wow, that's lovely. That's lovely. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen a few of these animated, movies that they make for each of the characters, and I've seen it for Sombra as well. The way she negotiates a deal at the end.
Yeah.
That was like really intense and like really interesting. That's how you build the character. Tell me something. When like Blizzard would have given you the script, they would have given you the backstory. How do you mentally prepare yourself into being into that character's identity and mind?
I think that, for video games, they don't give a lot of information. For pilots and movies, they give us the whole script, 100 pages, 150 pages, whatever. And they give us a bunch of scenes. And so you kind of understand the character. For video games, they're so secretive that they have, you sign an NDA. And for Sombra, I think I had 8 lines to audition with and 4 other ones in Spanish and a tiny description just telling you, they have to tell you the personality type. Because imagine if I auditioned for Sombra with a diva voice, like that wouldn't make sense. So they just kind of explain she's dark, stealthy, all these things. And then you kind of have to go with a gut feeling, like, what do I feel like she is?
Yeah.
And so they don't give you a lot of information. So it's not like I could do all this backstory and research to imagine what Sombra is. It's just, I feel like she would be like this. And so I did that. And that's what got it. And I think that some characters are harder to like sink into than others, but Sombra just came to me. And so Raze as well, we worked on her a little bit once we were recording. You're trying to figure out the balance between how loud she is, how insane she is, how, she, for example, Raze is very community oriented, and she's always like, minha familia, which means my family.
Yeah.
Like I can't do this without you. Let's group hug kind of thing. So it's like finding the balance between making characters to one note and you want to make them 3-dimensional. So I think that once you audition and you show them an initial color, then you go into record after they've chosen you, and you start tweaking things so that they're more interesting,
And do they give you enough freedom to play around with your character, or is it like very boxed in?
I think both of these games have been really what's the word? flexible in letting us find the voice. They're very specific about the lines. For Overwatch, I say the lines just as they're written because they've put so much time and effort into that. But I do know that for Valorant, we were finding Raze together.
Okay.
So they let me do a lot of improvisation, which was really fun and scary because sometimes you kind of do an improv and it's not too good and it's kind of stupid or silly. And so I'd be like, that sucked. Don't use it. And they're like, actually, we loved it. So you never know when something's going to work. In fact, so the line for you can take a girl out of Salvador, but you'll never take a girl out of Salvador. What? Yeah. The line goes, you can take a girl out of Salvador, but you'll never take Salvador out of a girl, because that's the line that you can take a guy out of India, but you can't take India out of the guy. Like that's just it's a term. And I messed it up because I didn't read. I knew what it was, but I messed it up. And then I go, what? And they're like, oh, that's really funny. Let's do it again. So little mistakes sometimes turn into actual voice lines. Like another one. Once they told me. I did some improv and they liked it. And so Carolina goes, money, baby, this is money. And they're like, that was really good. Can you say it in Raze's voice? And so I'm like, that's where that line comes from as well, because I was joking, but it worked. So a lot of Raze's voice lines are just me goofing around and finding what made sense.
And what's the real life Raze versus the video game? So is there a difference in your personality and how is it like?
Oh, funny. I mean, I think that I am very, very energetic and I love, I don't walk into a party saying, here comes the party. But I get very excited when I see my friends, like when I meet fans at conventions. Even if I'm really tired, somebody comes up to me, I'm like, hey, what's up? Nice to meet you. Like there is an authentic energy there because I'm very social and I'm an extrovert. So it doesn't take a lot for me to kind of open up. And I think that Raze also has a lot of community building skills that I enjoy. Like I love bringing people together. I love hosting friends at my house. So I feel like that's where I connected to her the most because she's very, very loud, like, and also just loves kind of like taking care of people that she loves. Like I'll go out of my way to care for loved ones. I think that I'm not as loud as Raze and I'm not as explosive. I think Raze is a little over the top. I'm not like that. I'd like to think. And she's got a raspier voice. So, there's differences for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but we love Raze, I mean, for sure. And, Raze also loves listening to music. She's always, she has her headphones on. So what's your favorite artist and what sort of songs do you like to listen to?
Oh my gosh. It varies. I think that, I love Brazilian music. All jokes aside, like she's Brazilian, but I'm not just saying that because she's Brazilian. Like since I lived in Rio for a while, I just fell in love with a lot of their music. So I listen to that a lot. I love salsa dancing. So I'll listen to salsa. If I need to kind of pick me up, like I go to salsa or merengue. But it varies, like Billie Eilish sometimes comes on, which is great. I love Adele. I love Queen. I love good 80s songs. I'm starting to really enjoy reggaeton depending on, the artist. So I think it just depends on the mood. And sometimes I just need a good instrumental to get me through my yoga class or whatever. So I have a very eclectic music taste going on.
Cool. So let's take a few questions from our community. Carolina, what we did was for the past couple of days, we've been asking our gaming community to, if they have any questions for you, we wanted them to ask you. So we have compiled a few questions, and guys who are listening to us and watching us on YouTube, these questions have not been shared with Carolina beforehand. So it's going to be totally improv for you guys. Okay, cool. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So let's take the first question. Okay, this one's interesting. This is from the in-game name, the Blind Bandit. Okay, so the Blind Bandit asks, how do you hype yourself before doing an intense voice line? For example, here comes the party.
Oh man, I don't know. I think I get really excited that I'm working, and I love I loved working with Zach and Dave, the writer and the director for Valorant.
Mhm.
So when I would go in and I'd see them and then I'd be there, like at one point they did play some Brazilian music for me, but it doesn't take me a lot to get excited. So I was just like, that was, I think, the first voice line I did for the audition. And I just I knew it had to be big. So I don't know. I think sometimes I just get excited knowing that I'm working on a new video game that's going to be awesome,
All right. So, next question. Okay, this one's a bit controversial. This comes in from Emma Pache. Emma Pache asks, so you have done voices for Sombra and Raze. Whom do you prefer more?
Oh, I say it's like choosing a favorite child. You can't do that. I like them both differently, and I think that they're both really special and very different. And that's what I enjoy about them, that they're not super similar.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I can't choose my favorite. That would be mean. I don't have a favorite. That's the truth. I can't tell you who I prefer.
Okay, so the next question comes in from SSJB Quinn. He asks, do you play Valorant, and do you stream Valorant?
I don't play Valorant. I'm not a gamer. I'm a terrible gamer. I've tried, so that's not going to happen. I stream on Twitch, but I kind of conduct interviews / hangouts with voice actors from video games and animations. So the answer is no. And I do stream, but not how you imagine it. So if you ever want to see me talking to other voice actors from games like Overwatch or Valorant or Red Dead Redemption, my Twitch is there for your perusal.
Cool. So the next question, this comes in from Killer Katappa. So the person asks, so Raze is from Raze is from Brazil. She is a duelist. So do you think there's going to be an agent from India as well?
Oh my gosh, I would love it for there to be agents from everywhere. So yes, I would love that, but I don't know what Riot has planned, so I can't tell you that that's going to happen. I'd like to think that more agents will come in, and so stay tuned. I do know there's an Indian agent in Apex Legends and also in Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
Check out Symmetra and Rampart. She's my good friend Anjali Bhimani, but no, I don't. I mean, I would love for there to be one in Valorant, but I don't know if there will be one.
Cool. Okay. So the last question, let's take one more. So the question is, if not Raze, which character would you pick from Valorant?
From Valorant?
Yeah.
Ooh. Gosh. I really liked Cypher. And the dark sense of humor, maybe because it reminded me of Sombra. So I kind of felt like that was special. And it's funny, I always liked Junkrat, who's in Overwatch, and he's very he loves explosives and grenades, and he's kind of crazy. He also has voice lines like, if at first you don't succeed, blow it up again. And I feel like Raze is a Brazilian version of Junkrat in a way. So it's kind of cool that my favorite character in another game resembles another one that I get to voice. So
she's a Brazilian, so is she speaking Portuguese or is she speaking Mexican?
She's speaking Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. My accent isn't perfect. I did my best. We worked with an accent coach, but yeah, she speaks Portuguese.
Perfect. So guys, thank you very much for all these questions. I'm sure you would have gotten all your answers from Carolina. So moving forward, Carolina, have you interacted with the Indian Valorant community yet?
I feel like some go on the Twitch channel and say hi. Every once in a while, I ask where people are from, and India comes up. I've gotten some messages on my Instagram saying hi, ma'am, and I know that that's very Indian. But no, I don't know. I haven't this is, I guess you are the first opportunity to kind of really connect to the Indian community, because I haven't yet. So I don't know. I will invite them all to my Twitch channel to come and say hi and ask questions. I already interviewed about 8 of the Valorant actors. So if you want to watch those interviews, they're saved on my Twitch, and then we compile the best of for my YouTube channel, and they're all there if you want to check them out.
Yeah, so guys, we will be linking all these, the YouTube link, the Twitch link, her Instagram link. We'll be putting them down in the show notes as well as on our description. So definitely check that out. Don't forget to miss out on her YouTube channel, especially with that web series that I'm talking about. You're gonna love it. You're gonna binge watch it throughout. And is season 5 also coming up?
No, I've done 4. I've been really busy with voice work lately and just auditions for film and TV. I also just shot an independent film that I produced and acted in. So I haven't done more Hispanglo-Saxon. And I feel like sometimes I need a break from it because it's a lot of work and it's really intense for me by myself. So I kind of do a season and then I take a break and do another season and take a break. So I don't know what'll happen.
But tell us about this independent film that you have been working on.
During pandemic, a writer reached out to me with his script and I read it and I loved it. So I said, let's produce it. It's a movie about a gamer cosplayer who is living in the pandemic by herself. And it's basically the ups and downs and the emotional journey that she goes through trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life and find happiness. Because I think a lot of us have dealt with a very confusing pandemic. Mm-hmm. And some people had to deal with taking care of a 2-year-old. Other people were fighting with their spouse. Other people were living alone, trying to not be lonely. So I just loved this story and it really spoke to me. And I loved that she was a cosplayer because I have dressed up as Sombra and I did a casual version of Raze. I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram. I put on this cute shirt that I got made by a friend, Melanie Jasmine, who does the cosplay. And so I just liked that it kind of connected gamers and cosplayers in this story, which I don't think have had a chance to see themselves in a film or a TV project before. So I just loved it. And so we did a Kickstarter to raise some funds and we shot it very indie style. It's all shot in my apartment, a very tiny crew, not a big budget at all, but I think it's a really good story. So when it's ready, I hope in June, we'll release it on Amazon Prime and try and get it out to the world. So
we'll be waiting for it, definitely. So I'm gonna mark my calendars for June and we're gonna wait for it, and I'm sure all the Indian gaming community would definitely be waiting for this. And we would love to see you on the screen. We would love to see more of your perception of the way you want to portray cosplay, the way you want to portray the stories. We would love to know that more. Before we wrap up the episode, Carolina, wanted to discuss a few, major pointers, especially for upcoming women actors and voiceover artists. What are your tips for them, when they are just entering the industry? What are the do's and don'ts that you would like to share with your experiences?
I mean, the don'ts are tricky. I don't know. I think everyone's unique. I think that the do's are to focus on the character and try and make that character the most unique that can come out of you. I think sometimes we worry that it's going to be too weird. And so then, imagine somebody listening to hundreds of auditions and they all sound the same. So as soon as yours sounds a little bit different, they go, oh, what's that? That's cool. And so I think that sometimes we have to get out of our own way and let ourselves shine in a character so that it is interesting and unique. I think that it takes work. Of course, you're not going to audition for one thing and book it and then your career takes off. So you have to remember that you're doing this because you love it and not for the money. So at the beginning, it might be really hard. I don't think I booked a voiceover for a couple years or a commercial. And I remember thinking, I don't think I'm good at this. Maybe I should stop, because I wasn't booking anything. But I think sometimes you just need to do quite a few auditions to get into the swing of things and learn. And sometimes you get so nervous that you F it up, and that's okay. So you'll focus on the next one, And I think that it's just remembering what you bring to the table and how that is unique. I think that's what Hispanglo-Saxon showed me. I am bringing something unique to the table. It's me. It's Carolina. Nobody else is me. So take it or leave it. And sometimes if they don't want you for a project, okay, thank you so much for the audition. I'm moving on. Instead of I think sometimes we hold on to grudges and we start getting angry and bitter about the industry. And you just have to go, okay, I'm focusing on this. And there are other things in life that make me happy. Like we aren't defined by our acting career. We're defined by the type of person we are. So do things that you love, go for bike rides, hang out with your friends, drink some wine, whatever. Like, remember that life is bigger than just this audition that you fucked up today.
Yeah.
Because I've had days where I did such a crappy audition that then I'm feeling horrible all day. And it's like, it's not the end of the world. You just keep going,
Yeah, it's really important to stay positive, I guess. A lot of times we beat ourselves too much when we are not doing good. And especially during these times when everybody is like, struggling with something or the other, it makes it more of an important task to make sure that you are positive and you're taking things one thing at a time. I mean, instead of doing a lot of things together, I guess taking one thing at a time, one step at a time towards one goal, I guess that's more of... it's more about keeping yourself sane in this journey rather than going ballistic and burning yourself out.
Absolutely, self-care, and not, and like you said, not being so hard on yourself. Sometimes it just didn't work out, and you keep going. And it's hard to stay positive all the time because it's important to feel dark feelings and sad feelings. So feel them and then let it go. Like, just the idea that we can process stuff and a new day will come or a moment will change, or go take a cold shower or a hot shower and you'll feel different afterwards. But knowing that it's a process. This is you have to be in it for the long haul. And so it's not like you're just going to reach fame from, morning to night. No, it's like you need to, it's work, perfect your skills, work on your voices or on your characters. Like, it's not just like, oh, I do a really great voice for a 12-year-old kid. And that's not the only thing. There's so much more to it,
Any specific routine that you follow for training your voice for a particular audition?
I mean, if I have to record something like screaming very early in the morning, there's a warm up that I do. I took some voice classes, where you have to learn how to warm things up, where to scream, how to scream. And sometimes I still hurt my voice, like a voice up here can like end up sometimes affecting my vocal cords. So yes, I do that kind of stuff, but I'm not a teacher, so I'll never claim to say, oh, you do this and you'll be good. I think that, if you really want to pursue this, you should try a voice acting class and see if you like it and see, how the teacher can help you expand some skills. There are a lot of websites that help with voice acting. I actually did a video on my YouTube channel, and I'll send you the link. It says how I got into voice acting or tips on voice acting and how I got into it. And the tips are I'm sharing a bunch of cool resources for people to be able to take online classes or try auditions or all the things. And then you can just listen to it. And it's like an 11-minute video. It's long, but it kind of goes into detail if you really want to pursue this, different ways that you can do it. And learn about it instead of just say, oh, I got to get a microphone. No, take a class first. See if you like it. The microphone comes later. You don't have to worry about that yet.
So true.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got a text from my friend and he's like, don't forget to ask what's her favorite lines from Raze.
I definitely love Here Comes the Party. I love surrounded by mia familia. There's nothing we can't do. Colorful kill. I like that one. I like. I always forget the one about the music with Brimstone.
The Brimstone, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel terrible because I still don't know them by heart, but I have them written down here. Hold on. I found them. It is a funny one. Jet. My sister from another mister. Let's have some fun, yeah? I like... Hold on. Time for the fireworks! Good ones. Yeah, okay, here it is. Brimstonezinho, you sure I can't listen to music? You're really bringing me down, man.
Yeah, that one's one of my favorite,
Yeah. I need to blow something up. Let's make some chaos. So yeah, I just think she's fun, So a lot of the lines are great. Oh, and boom.
Yeah, that was really fun. So with that, thank you very much, Carolina, for being on the show. And I'm sure the whole of Indian gaming community is listening to us, watching us right now, and they would definitely take away a lot of good points from whatever we have discussed. So thank you very much for being on the show today.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, wait. Shukriya.
Shukriya.
That's the only thing I learned.
There's one more word, which is dhanyavad.
Oh, dhanyavad.
Yeah. So that wraps it up for today, folks. If you liked the episode, give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and let's go viral. Remember, our weekly podcast features episodes on personal growth, mental health, relationships, business and entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. We would love to have Carolina on the show again in the future to discuss more about the fascinating world of voiceovers, games, and acting. So if you haven't yet done so, hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com for more of such content. And as always, before I sign off, remember, life is black and white and everything in between.